Hello Power People, and thank you for joining me, Joe Unwin, also known as FlowJoe, on another Power Automate video. Today we are going to look at the exciting world of lists returned from Dataverse and how we can actually arrange them to be in whatever order we want them to be in. Now, traditionally they'll just come back in an array and you'll have to work with them, but we can actually sort them by any column that we wish to. So how do we do this then? Well, on your screen you can see that I'm getting a list of rows from the cats table. Now in the cats table I've got a load of different columns that I can use, and I've got some mock data in here. So I've got different types of cats. You can see the dates that it was created on. You can see it's got IDs, origin, it's got weight, it's got color, all of these different types of things. Now, if I run this flow, it's going to pull back all of those rows. You can see I've got a little flow checker red dot up the top. It's because I'm not filtering at all. I'm just bringing back every single row from that table. So let's actually do this then and see what comes back. Okay, so what do we get back then? Well, as you can see, if we scroll down to the value section, we've got an array as shown by this square bracket here, and then we've got a load of data. So the first one is a name of Siamese. So if we come into here, you can see that we've got ID of 1 back as the first one. And if we scroll down at the separator and look at the next one, it's Persian. So then we've got Persians, then we've got ID of 2 come back. So you can see at the moment it's actually being arranged in some form of order. So if I scroll down again, we will then see the main, and you can see ID of 3. So at the moment we can assume that it is being ordered by the ID. But what if we wanted to order it by, let's say, the color or the name or something else? How do we do that? Well, it's really simple, and I'll show you how to do that now. So let's go back to our flow and click on edit, and I'm using a compose action. Again, my favorite compose action is just everything you want out of an action. It does everything, right? So it's my favorite action. But in here I've actually got a sort. So what does sort do? What is a sort function? Well, sort essentially allows you to order something. It allows you to sort it in an order that you want it to be. Now, as we saw, we had an array come back, which we call list rows. So we get a list of rows, which is actually an array, and we're passing that into our sort function. But what we can do then is do a comma, and then do single quotation marks and pass in the logical name for the column. So if I open this up, you can see down here I've got my sort, and then I've got my outputs of my list rows of cats. I've got the question mark just in case the body doesn't exist, but then I'm passing in the body and value. So I'm passing in the body and value. So what I would select from the dynamic content here is I would select the value section from the list of items in the list of rows. So I type sort, I click on that dynamic content, I click the value section, and it passes all of this in for me. But then what I'm doing is I'm doing a comma, and I'm just scrolling to the right so you can see it better. I'm doing a comma, and then I'm doing single quotation marks, and then I'm passing in the logical column name. So what is the logical column name? How do you find it? If you don't know, if we just go onto our table, and I'm going to open the name, which is what I'm using, and if you click on advanced options, you will see so you've got your display name, right? You've got 3 different types of names. You've got your display name, you've got your schema name, and then you've got your logical name. Now you always want to use the logical name because it's always going to be lowercase, and that's what you want to use in Power Automate. More often than not, most people get caught out when they try to use a schema name, and for example, this could have a capital N, and then they're wondering, why is my flow not working? Obviously, I'm pointing at the correct name, and my flow's just saying it can't find it for some reason. It's always got to be lowercase. So your logical name, in this case is CR6A8 underscore name, is what we're going to be using. So if I come back to here then, I'm essentially going sort, then I'm passing in my array value. So I set the value, not the body, the value, then do a comma, single quotation marks, and then I just pass in the logical name of the column that I want to list by. So let's run this again now, and I'll rename this just so that we actually know what's going on. This is ordering our data. So we're getting a list of the cats back. We're now trying to order the data, and we're going to do it, I'll rename this again, by name. Okay, so now when we look through the data returned, we should on the right hand side see the ordering of name. Now what should we have first then? Now we should have, if we order, look, if we just go from A to Z, we should have the Maine Coon, then we should have the Persian, the Ragdoll, the Siamese and the Sphinx. So we should have it in this order. So let's try that then. Let's hit test and let's just run this flow. That's just the warning that I said about, because I'm not filtering any of my data coming back from the lists, because obviously there could be thousands of rows. But let's see the difference then. So what did we have first? The first time in our list rows actions, we had Siamese first, and then second we had Persian. But now let's look at the output of our compose where we've done our filtering. So you can see we've got Maine Coon as first, scroll down, what's second then? Then we've got Persian. Now if we go back to our data, Maine Coon, Persian, you can see that we're now ordering based on the name. So how do we take this further then? How do we do it by another column? Well, obviously I already had this one, but let's actually go through it together and write it ourselves. So let's add another compose step. And this time we will do ordering our data, but this time what shall we do it on? What should we order it by? Let's order it by weight. Let's see who's the lightest and who's the heaviest. So this time I'm just going to rename this so we know exactly what's happening on this action. It's very important to do that, especially if you're working with large teams or you're working in a consultancy. Make sure you name your actions correctly, because it will save you so much time and effort, especially when trying to explain it, or if you come onto a project and taking over a flow from someone, it will make it so much easier to understand what's going on. So what we're going to do now then is we're going to order the returned data from the list rows of cats in the weight order. So again, we go into expression, we type sort and we open the parentheses. But what we're going to do is we're going to click on the dynamic tab, scroll down and click on the value. Make sure you click the value one. Then we're going to do comma, single quotations. And then from here, we're going to come back to our table and we're going to look for the weight. So if we click on weight and then we scroll down, you can see here the logical name. So just double click that and highlight it and right click and copy. And then in here, what we can do is just simply paste between the single quotation marks. So now if we scroll all the way to the end, we should have the close of the parentheses, and then we have the single quotation marks with the column name in. So if we click on OK, and then we run this test again, we can now have a list of rows ordered by the name as well as ordered by the weight, but we're only making that one API call to Dataverse to get the data. So let's just hit run. Okay, so previously we had the list of the actual just default one, which was the IDs. And then we had, which was based on these IDs. So we had Siamese first, we had Persian second, then we filtered and listed by the name. Then we went Maine Coon, Persian, Ragdoll. And now we're looking at doing it based on the weight. So if we just find weight, and all I've done there is just do Control F to get the actual find appear up. And then I've just typed weight in. And as you can see, it's 8. So if I now order my table by weight, 8, well, I'll do smaller to larger, it's not A to Z. We have 7, 8, 10, 12, and 15. So you can see the second one is 8. So let's scroll up. The first one is 7. So we've got 7, we've got 8, we've got 10, then we've got 12, and then lastly we have 15. So we have 7, 8, 10, 12, and 15. And as you can see, we are now ordering the data returned from Dataverse back to us in Power Automate by the weight column. And again, you can do it by origin, you can do it by anything, you can do it by color. Let's just do one more just to go through and reiterate how we did this. And I'll do this a lot more slower this time. So what we do, firstly, get a compose action. Secondly, rename your compose to say what you're doing. So I'm just saying ordering our data, but obviously you can say ordering Dataverse data, whatever you feel fits with your actual desire and outcome. So then this time we are going to say origin. So we're going to go do a filter based on the origin. Oops, I've missed an I in the name there. And then we are going to now go through and do our sort. So we click into inputs, we click on expression, we type sort, we open the parentheses, we go back to the dynamic tab, scroll down till we get to the value section of the return data that we want to sort. Then we do comma, and then we're going to do single quotation marks, go back to our table, find the column that you're looking to do. So I'm doing origin. So I click on that, click on advanced options, scroll down, copy the logical name, just double click on it, right click copy, come back into here and paste in between the two single quotation marks. So then we have sort the value of the list items from Dataverse, comma, then we have the column name in single quotations, and that's the logical name. Click OK, then we can just hit test, run again. And obviously we get the error again, but that's just because I'm not filtering, as I mentioned previously. And then we hit run. And now if we click on our raw outputs, our first one is Canada. And now if we sort by A to Z, we have Canada. And then the second one will be Iran. And as you can see there, the second one is Iran. And that is how easy it is to sort return data from Dataverse in whatever order you wish to from whatever column. It's as simple as using the sort expression, the sort function, passing in the value of the returned items from Dataverse, using comma, single quotation marks, and then the logical name of the column. That will then give you an ordering of all the data that you need, and then you can do whatever you need to do with that data. So why would you do it this way rather than the traditional way of opening up the list rows and then sorting it by the OData output? Well, there is a reason for that. Now, you are very limited on what columns you can do. So you can only select the actual columns that you have. If you have a lookup column, for example, you can't actually order and sort by that. Now, what do I mean by this? Well, let's go back and have a look then. So if I click on edit, as you can see here, we've got the list rows open, and I've clicked on show advanced options. And you've got the sort by section. So it says columns to sort by in OData by the order by style, excluding lookups. But what happens if you actually want to sort by a lookup? Well, you can actually do that using the way I've just shown you. So let's just run this again and actually look at the data again, and I'll show you how. So in here, we actually have a lookup that's just been hidden. So if I scroll to the right, we've got a lookup example, and I've got a table called lookup example, and it just has example in it. And all I've done is I've got a lookup to lookup example, and I've just selected example for each of them. So when we run this and I open up my actual data, if I now sort by, or search for the lookup, you can see here that we have the actual example show up in our data. Now, what happens if we wanted to sort by this? Well, what you can do is you can actually take this whole column, just copy this without the double quotation marks, just copy the actual underscore, the column name, underscore value, and then all of this OData, community display v1 formatted value, all of that, copy that, and then just do what we did previously. You just add a new step, go to compose, and then we're going to now rename this, and we'll do ordering our data via a lookup. So we're going to come into the expression, type sort again, open the parentheses, click on the dynamic content again, and then scroll down, click on the value, then put a comma, single quotation marks, and now we're just going to paste that big long actual field name, because that's all we're doing is we're filtering by fields of the returned data. So I've now put that lookup value in the single quotation marks. Now if I just click on OK, and I'll highlight this because it'll be easier for you to see, you can see it says sort, then it has the value, then comma, then it has single quotation marks, and then it's just got that big underscore lookup example underscore value at OData, etc. So now if I run this test, what we'll then see is that we can actually order by lookups. Now you can only do it by the value returned, so it's going to be the name of the lookup. But this allows us to get around the OData sort by that it traditionally gives us. So this is why I kind of use this more than the traditional method, because it allows you more flexibility. So obviously if I open this now, it's all just going to be ordered by example because they are all example. But let's actually go into our table then and change this lookup into a more traditional lookup, so we actually have more data. So what I've got is one column in here called name. So let's change this to 1, let's change this to 2, 3, 4, 5, we'll have 6, and we'll just add a load of numbers. So now we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Cool. So we've now got data to work with. Let's actually go back into our cats table, and then in here we're going to edit our actual data, and what we'll do this time is we'll change this, so we'll have, let's list it by name A to Z, and we'll actually do just the ordering for the name A to Z. So we'll do 1, then we'll do 2, then we'll do 3, and then we'll do 4, and then lastly 5. So what's going to happen then is we should have our ordering back in the A to Z of the names, but we're actually ordering based on the lookup example because it's going 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We're going to then be able to order the actual data returned to us from our cats table, are all those list rows returned, but actually we're going to be ordering by a lookup to the lookup example table. So this is why it's so much better to do it this way than the traditional way of using the order by method. Okay, so if I click on edit, we've already got all of the data. It's still going to be the exact same thing because it's using the value output. Now it's going to use the name because it's the actual column, the main column that comes back to us when we do a lookup. We don't get access to all of the other columns, so we're just going to get access to that one. So this is obviously a limitation, but it actually allows us to work with lookups even though it does have those limitations. So now let's do an ordering then. So let's see what we actually get back. So now if we open up our lookup section and we actually go to lookup, you can see that the first one here, the formatted value is 1. So let's scroll down and then we'll go down to the formatted value of 2, Scroll down, and then we've got the formatted value of 3. So now what we're actually doing is we are ordering by a lookup column, and that is why this is a much better way of ordering your data than the traditional way of coming in here and using your sort by, because you can't use lookups at all, and this is a massive workaround for that. So thank you for joining me, Joe Unwin, also known as FlowJoe, on another Power Automate video. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions. Hit that like and subscribe button to help my channel grow, and I really appreciate you watching the video.